Hey scientists, it's Jessica Power with another episode of Science Today. Fred and I have a really interesting topic to cover with you today, and better yet, we're going to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. So scientists, the last couple weeks we have talked about what is science and what does it mean to be a scientist, specifically with making observations and collecting information in science notebooks. So last week, scientists, we read a book together about how scientists use notebooks to collect their thinking, to draw pictures, to write observations, to collect data. And then they use that notebook in order to make connections and learn about the world around them. Well, today, scientists, you're going to get the opportunity to make some observations and make some hypotheses. That's right, you're going to make a hypothesis. Do you know what a hypothesis is? Hypothesis. Well, a hypothesis is a guess. It's a prediction to a question. So for example, if I asked you the question, what weight will require more force for me to lift? A 8-pound weight or a 15-pound weight? What would you predict? Which do you think will require more force or will require more effort for me to lift? An 8-pound weight or a 15-pound weight? Make your guess. Okay, scientists, we're going to get back to that question in a little bit, but you have your prediction, right? You have your hypothesis. Some of you may have said it's going to take more force or more effort for me to lift an 8-pound weight. And some of you probably said it's going to take more force or weight or effort for me to lift a 15-pound weight. Now, whichever one you answered or predicted, why? Why did you pick that one? Why did you pick 8 pounds? Why did you pick 15 pounds? Give yourself a second to think about that. Come up with a reason. Why? Why did you pick the 8-pound weight requiring more force or effort for me to lift? Or why did you pick the 15-pound weight? Okay, so you've got your prediction. You just thought about why you made that prediction. Now hold on to that prediction. We're going to come back to it. Now scientists, our topic today is about force. Not like Star Wars and may the force be with you. A different kind of force. We're going to stay here on Earth with force. So scientists, behind us, you will see a poster that's been made that says force with the definition. The definition of force is a push or pull on an object. That means I'm either pushing on it or pulling on it. Those are our two options. Now to help you out, I've got a drawing, don't laugh at my drawing, of a person pushing on a door and pulling on a door. I'm sure you've pushed or pulled on objects before. You may not have realized it, or you may not have been thinking, I'm pushing on this object right now. Or I'm pulling out this chair to sit in it. I'm done sitting in this chair, so I'm gonna push the chair back into the table. You probably don't think about that as you're doing it. So let's talk about that. So scientists, let's start with a push. There's lots of things that we push. If you ever have pushed someone on a swing, right, you've stood behind them and you've pushed them as they begin swinging, you're pushing them away from you. Or you're using force to push them. Now, have you ever noticed if you've pushed somebody on a swing before, the more you push them or the harder you push them, the higher on the swing they tend to go. Interesting. What else could you push? A car door. What about a car door? Have you ever pushed a car door closed? Like after you get out of the car? Now, have you ever slammed a car door? What's the difference between pushing a car door closed and slamming a car door closed? What's the difference between those two? Yeah. When you slam a door, you push that door really, really hard, or you give the door more force. Catching on yet? Let's talk about pulling. Have you ever done tug of war? In tug of war, there's one rope and there's two teams, and each team is on each side of the rope. And the object is that the teams will pull as hard as they can to try to make the other team not be able to resist and fall forward. Tug of war is a game of pulling. It means you're doing everything you can to bring that team closer to you. So scientists, to keep things simple, a push means we're moving something away from us. A pull means we're bringing something into us. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that we were going to talk about the Chiefs today and football. And seeing as though we're in Kansas City, it seemed like a pretty good time to talk about the Chiefs. So let's talk about Tyreek Hill. Are you a fan of Tyreek Hill? Everybody's a fan of Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is crazy fast, right? He gets down to the end zone so quickly. But part of his position is that he has to catch the ball before he takes off and focus for that touchdown. Now, if you've ever watched closely, when football players have the ball, doesn't matter if it's the wide receiver or a running back or a quarterback, you'll notice that if they catch the ball or when they get the ball, they pull that ball in close to them so they can protect it. So Tyreek Hill, when he catches the ball, he pulls it into his body to protect it and he takes off for the end zone. See how force is working there? He's pulling the ball in. Now in football, you also have an offensive and defensive line, and their jobs are pretty simple, although they're pretty tough on the field. The first thing is that the offensive line, those are those players that line up in a row. Their job is to make sure that the defensive team doesn't get to the quarterback. So the quarterback, or Patrick Mahomes in our case, can throw the ball or give the ball to one of his tight ends, wide receivers, or running backs. Now the job of an offensive lineman is when the ball is moved, when the play starts, the offensive linemen typically put their hands up, and their job, and you typically see their hands go up and out. This means that they are pushing the defensive player away so that they don't get through. Just another example of pushing and pulling in football. So let's go back to our definition. A force is a push or pull on an object. Can you think of any other examples in football or soccer or basketball or swimming or tennis, any sport? Pick your favorite sport. Can you think of another example of a push and a pull in your favorite sport? Well, scientists, the Royals are also playing right now. It's still baseball season. And there's lots of push and pulls that happen in baseball. Let's talk about batting. So the batter is in the batter's box, they're lined up, and they hit the ball. Okay? Imagine Salvi Perez is up to bat, and he hits the ball. And he brings the bat through, and the ball takes off and goes a really, really long way. Scientists, do you think Salvi Perez just pushed or pulled that baseball with the baseball bat? Yeah, he pushed it, right? That ball traveled really, really far, and that bat pushed that ball out. Awesome. Can you think about some other examples? What about soccer? Can you think about how someone might push or pull a soccer ball? So anytime a player is running with the soccer ball, right, and they're kicking that ball forward, that's a push. Have you ever seen a soccer player stop and then roll the ball back closer to them? That's a pull. Getting the hang of it? Perfect. So when we got started, scientists, I asked you to make a prediction. I asked you, which would be more challenging or require more force for me to lift? An 8-pound weight, this is an 8-pound dumbbell, or a 15-pound dumbbell. So this weighs 15 pounds. And scientists, you had to make a prediction. I asked you to predict which is going to require more force. So am I gonna have to pull the 8-pound dumbbell up more, or am I gonna have to pull the 15-pound dumbbell up more? And scientists, you made that prediction. Can you remind me what your prediction was again? Okay, and can you tell me why you made that prediction? Awesome, let's find out. Okay, scientists, so here's how we're gonna do this. A little bit of weightlifting during our video today. So I'm gonna pull doing a bicep curl. Let's learn a fun fact. Scientists, your bicep is the muscle that runs from your elbow area up to your shoulder. So if you stick out your arm and a little bump happens, that's your bicep, okay? So I'm gonna stay here and you watch really closely. See which one's more difficult, requires more force for me to pull. This is the 8-pound dumbbell. Does this look too difficult for me? No, it doesn't. Who knows, maybe I'm super strong and the 15-pound dumbbell won't be that difficult either. Okay, 15-pound dumbbell, are you ready? This one's a lot heavier. Okay. So which one required more force? The 8-pound dumbbell or the 15-pound dumbbell? Yeah, that's right, the 15-pound dumbbell. This one's a lot heavier. Requires me to use more force, use a lot more muscle to pull that dumbbell up. And requires a little bit more control bringing that dumbbell down. So scientists, why do you think the 15-pound dumbbell, this one, was harder for me to use force with than the 8-pound dumbbell? Why do you think? Did you say because I'm just not strong? That's not very nice, but I'll take it. Or did you say that the 15-pound dumbbell weighs more? It weighs a lot more. That's correct. So let's go back to our chart, scientists. So a force is a push or pull on an object. Now before we wrap up from talking about a push or pull on an object and force, let's go back to the Chiefs. So our quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. He's pretty good, right? Yeah. Now, when Patrick gets the football, he usually takes a couple steps back, and then he throws the football, or tosses the football, or hands the football off to one of his offensive players. Now let's say he's throwing the ball this play, scientists, to a wide receiver. He's throwing the ball. Let's think about force. Is Patrick Mahomes pushing or pulling that ball from his hand? When he throws his football, is he pushing or pulling that football? That's right, he's pushing it. Now, the more oomph he puts on it, or the harder he throws that football, the more force that football will have as it moves through the air. So the harder he throws, the more force he uses with the football, the farther that football is going to go. You'll notice that when he just does a little toss off to either a running back or tight end, or even a wide receiver, when he tosses it, there's not near as much force on that ball, so it's not moving as fast as when he throws the ball down the field, where he applies more force. So scientists, this week, I want you to think about what are some things that you can push and pull around you. And if you want to take it a step further, test those objects. Like me with my dumbbells. We just did a scientific test here. We wanted to find out which dumbbell requires more force to lift, the 8-pound dumbbell or the 15-pound dumbbell. You can do little tests or investigations like this at home. You can find out on carpet versus hard floor. Which carpet or the hard floor requires more force to push in a chair? Or you could go outside and kick a soccer ball around. Or you could even color. Use crayons or colored pencils. How does the shading or how does the color that when you're coloring get impacted by the amount of force? Have you ever lightly shaded something where you don't use much force? And then you color something really, really hard where you're using a lot of force? You're pushing that crayon into the paper. See, force is all around us whenever you push or pull anything. So this week, scientists, take some time, go out in your community or so where you live and find different objects to push and pull. Make connections, make observations. What type of objects are really easy to pull? What types of objects are really easy to push? What types of objects require more force or less force to push and pull? How does the motion or how does the movement of an object change when you push or pull at different strengths? I think you've got this. I think it's time for you to go find some pushes and pulls and experience force. I'll see you next week, scientists. Have an awesome day and a great week.